Brodes Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Brodes. The Eagles continue to make additions to their coaching staff. I won't pretend like I can tell you everything that the defensive line coach brings to the table, or when you look at the DB room, what exactly is going to change. I don't have that information. All I know is the defensive line coach is a fucking unit. This dude is large. I've never seen a man bigger than that in my entire life. And I watch WWE. All right, so I see some of these big-ass dudes, and they're throwing their body weight at one another from the top rope. A little RKO. Oh, man, Randy Orton. You know what I'm saying? And this man is them times 7, and he's going to help get pressure on the quarterback. Well, in theory, right? Because Matt Patricia thought that he was going to get guys to the quarterback too, but somehow everybody got even worse. Somehow Hassan Reddick became a non-factor. He became a non-factor, became English Brodes, became a non-factor, and that's what we had to deal with on a week-to-week basis. Pisses me off, okay? Can't stand it. Yet I'm watching Andy Reid go to another Super Bowl. And I loved that little fun barroom conversation that lived on WIP for about a day on what would have happened what if you didn't fire Andy Reid? And the balls on some of you to make the claim that, well, he wouldn't have duplicated the success. Huh? In what world? What do you mean? He went to Kansas City and had to rebuild that thing. Oh, he rebuilt that thing. He was savvy to go get Pat Mahomes. This wasn't hey, he's a number 1, can't miss prospect. You go get that dude with the first pick in the draft. Sensational quarterback. This man was savvy as hell, and he was able to operate bada bing, bada boom, bang. And the Eagles needed to bolster up their roster again. If you gave Andy Reid that time, and okay, maybe we didn't know in the moment, but I'm not talking about that. I'm saying as we sit here today, and we do have the information on how great Andy Reid is and how he does have the ability to close the door. He closed the door. That was the drama nonstop when he was in this town. He can't get the big game done. He can't win the damn Super Bowl. Those NFC championships, I'll wash my ass with it because they mean nothing to me unless I get a Lombardi trophy. That was the talking points nonstop during the Andy Reid time. If you gave him the ability to work through after those final year, then you possibly could have duplicated what Andy Reid is doing in Kansas City right now. But you elected to go in another direction, which essentially scarred the Eagles front office for the rest of time. And now they are not going back to anybody with power without recognizing that people who are good at this have power for a reason, right? I know that it was a rotten egg with Chip Kelly, but that doesn't mean everyone who demands something is an absolute joke of a human being and horrible at their job and going to blow up the entire franchise. You just picked the wrong person. Look, there's a lot of people in jail, and there's a lot of people that do horrible, gross things. But that also means that there's a lot of people who aren't in jail because they are great, magnificent people. And some you can trust, some can't be trusted. Your job as a general manager, Howie Roseman, and your job as the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, is to find the good ones. You can't limit yourself because you are so afraid, because you're scared to make the wrong decision. That means you don't have confidence in yourself, and you're hiding behind that, so you start to get someone who's willing to do whatever you want to do. You're scared. You're scared to actually have some sort of competition, right, and to have a little give and take. That upsets you, and that's problematic that the person who's in charge is so not confident in himself that he has to limit the ceiling of the operation because, well, God forbid, Howie doesn't have all the say in the world. It's crazy to me. And I didn't really expect to talk about that to open up the show, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, I didn't know where it was really going to take me. The Andy Reid stuff, yes, and he would have done it here, and they made a mistake 100%. I don't even know how this is. I like the debate, but I don't get the people who are on the other side. Well, it was time. No, it wasn't time. No, it wasn't time. You could have stuck it out. He's one of the best ever. He's not just a good coach. This isn't a good coach. This is a guy who has an understanding on how to create a real culture. Ask every single former player who still currently stands in this city. I've never heard one little rumble, heard one little peep of negativity towards Big Red. They all give him that respect. Coach, they love him to death. This guy's the perfect scheme guy. He's the perfect human guy who adapted from the older days, the two-a-days, swallow your spit if you're thirsty. I don't give a damn if you want water. You're going to throw up and puke, running suicides before you're allowed to go get any sort of squirt in the Gatorade off to the bench, all right? He lived through that time, and then he was able to connect with all these young cats, these young kids, these TikTokers, and they love that man to death. He's got it all. He's got the culture. We ain't got nothing. We don't have no culture. We have coaching staffs because now Vic Fangio is bringing in a big-ass dude, and he's bringing in some help. Nick Sirianni, the guys who's supposed to be the leader of them all. I don't know if he agrees with some of these people. You're removing every single one of his guys, and he doesn't have a lot of knowledge and a lot of acquaintances, not even acquaintances, but a lot of connections in this league like Vic Fangio does, and they're just snatching and throwing all of Sirianni's guys out the door to bring in dudes that he's got no clue who they are and what they do, and he's supposed to be in charge of them all, but not really, because he can't tell Vic Fangio what to do at all, because, well, Nick Sirianni has no power at all. It's just a crazy dynamic. And I apologize. I do. I don't want to stand right here every day and just rip my football team down to the core for 30 minutes. It's not what my agenda is. It's just how I feel. I'm not looking to be negative. I'm just giving you every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears into this team. And what I have, this is what I have to give you. And it's unfortunate that it's negative and it's sour, and I wish they did certain things differently. But that's the truth. That's the hard, honest truth. And that's all I can do. So I know that, some are trying to look to make the switch and say, Brodes, you're kind of getting a little harsh on them. And they did make some big additions at the coordinator positions. And let's focus on some positives that they can bring. And I'm with you. And you know what? Once we start inching our way through the draft and we see what is now on the defense, because they better start bringing in some damn defense. They desperately need it. They need every single position. Every position. Bradbury's got to be a goner. I don't know what you got at nickel because Avonte Maddox can't stay healthy. Although Isaiah Rodgers, I swear to God, they are going to make it seem as if Isaiah Rodgers is the greatest cornerback to ever exist, and they will sell their soul on that and try and convince you in some combination of Job and Ricks and Ringo, and that's not good enough. That is not good enough. If that's what they do, I'm going to be sick. All right, then I'm never going to stop screaming. But anyway, I will eventually get to the spot where I focus on what Kellen Moore can really be and what I think he can do with Jalen Hurts, because there is an area in this passing game that I'm excited to see and all, but I'm not there right now. We're, 2 weeks removed from that slop, and I think I'm still in a state of shock with a little bit of realization that, no, this is no nightmare, okay? This isn't one of those things where you wake up, you're heavy breathing, and you're stoked that it's not real life. This is how it is, and I'm now seeing from guys up at 98.5 Sports Hub in Boston that there's real belief behind the scenes through the Bill Belichick channels that Howie Roseman checked in, and there was some real maybe thoughts happening there. Hey, look, they were thinking about canning this dude. And now Ben Johnson is staying put. He's not going to the Commanders. Well, if Sirianni gets canned after this year's over, there's, I guess, Bill potentially on the table and maybe Ben Johnson, although if he's really demanding that much and that's scaring the Commanders away, Joshua Harris, who's very willing to throw around a ton of cash, as much as you want to rip him for maybe some of the Sixers' decisions, it's not for shortchanging. It's not for being a penny pincher. It's just making wrong decisions. In regards to opening up the checkbook, writing it out, I'm just saying there's got to be some sort of correlation. My point is, if Ben Johnson's unwilling to go to Washington because he's commanding too much, I bet your ass that him and Howie Roseman won't be getting together and really loving what each other wants to do if there were to work together. I bet you Ben Johnson wants more than the Eagles are capable of giving in their eyes. Not that I agree with it. I'm just speculating here. I'll eventually get to some positive stuff. I'm just not there yet. Maybe you all can help me, and that's why we're going to shift and go to the Anytime Hotline. Before we do, though, breakfast is the most important meal of the damn day. And that's why I want you to hear this very loud and very clear. HelloFresh is giving you free breakfast for life. Free breakfast for life. Let me tell you. If you go to HelloFresh.com/BrodesFree and use code BrodesFree, you will get free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while your HelloFresh subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/BrodesFree. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. And if you're unaware of what HelloFresh is farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes that get delivered right to your doorstep. So you get to skip the trips to the grocery store and you pretty much follow your step-by-step recipe cards. Everything's pre-portioned. You just follow the 8 simple steps, 7 simple steps. It's changed my life. Me and my wife, we're not getting stuck into that standard dinner time recipes throughout the week. We're getting over 45 plus different options to choose from. It is truly outstanding. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And you have to give it a try. Give it a try and say, let me just experiment with it one time. Let me see how it is. And I promise you, you won't go back. My whole entire family's addicted to it now. It's super cool to see. And look, they're really, truly giving away free breakfast for life to subscribers. And that means you'll enjoy totally free breakfast with every single HelloFresh delivery. Now that is worth waking up for. Make sure you check the link down below in the description and get yourself started today joining the HelloFresh family. All right, let's take some phone calls and see how everybody feels about the current state of the franchise, the addition of Kellen Moore, and what they did with the staff.
Hey, Brodes, how you doing, cuz? How you doing? Hey, it's my first time calling you, but I listen to you all the time. I like your reactions. I like what you got to say. I became a fan. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, thanks.
I just want to say something real quick. The Kellen Moore hire. I like it. Why not? It's an upgrade. Who cares? You know, we got Brian Johnson's gone. We got John Desai gone. It's a win. I mean, come on. I think the Eagle fans who don't like it are just hating right now. But the guy proved himself he can do something in the league, right? Am I right or am I right? You know? You didn't win a chip yet, but the guy's 35 years old. Give him a chance here. You know what I'm saying? Just watch what happens. We're going to the bowl. Strong prediction. We're going 20-0. We're going to defeat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl next year, 37-3, and that's it.
All right, I was with you all the way until the 20-0 thing. Yeah, there's real serious things to discuss with Kellen Moore with positive views. I mean, he has had some really good offensive numbers. When he's been great, he's been very, very great. Statistically speaking, some of his numbers with Dak Prescott were outstanding, and nobody was doing much better at that time. They're finishing at the top tier of the league with what they were doing. That's the truth. It really is. And while that's the case, where I come in on the other side is I just feel it's a safe hire here because he is on his third team already, and if he was as special and as you can't let this guy out of your building as some claim, not that you're saying that, I think you're just recognizing that there's been some good things that he's done in his career, but if he's that can't miss, then why is everybody getting rid of him? Now, I understand a new regime is starting to flow through the Los Angeles Chargers. And when that's the case, Jim Harbaugh is going to bring in his guys, and that unfortunately means the people who are in place will be actively shopping for a spot, and that's just how the nature of the beast goes. But why didn't Dallas fall off a cliff? And if Mike McCarthy, who we all seem to deem as a bum, and that guy's overrated and he's not very special, well then how is things operating as smoothly as they did with their offense through the regular season, just as it did under Kellen Moore, if McCarthy isn't very talented? You know what I'm saying? So it is a weird view from that sort of viewpoint, if you will, I guess. But, you know, something that also needs to be noted, Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. Doug Peterson's replaceable. Mike McCarthy is very replaceable. The reason why I bring this up is if you are going to put your feet in the mud, start twisting, and claim that you're never going to leave that spot because you're going down swinging with Sirianni since he won, or not one, not one. Since he had a Super Bowl appearance, he did not win it. He did not win. Not one, but appearing in the Super Bowl. So that's why he deserves more time. Number one, he's not getting the time. He's just a face of it. He's not actually doing anything. He's literally just the spokesperson. He isn't having any sort of say to get it back on track. Everybody else surrounding him has say. He doesn't, so they're not really giving him a chance to fix it. He's just still there being a puppet. And number two, there's been a lot of coaches that have made the Super Bowl that are interchangeable or that are replaceable. Nick Sirianni did some very important things to help out that run. Not last season, 2 years ago. Now we have to start changing our words around. But 2 years ago in that loss. That doesn't mean that he now has free range. Okay? Andy Reid, before he won his Super Bowl, was still one of the most important coaches in NFL history. Just took him a long-ass time to finally hoist a Lombardi. I would have taken Andy Reid without any Super Bowls over some of the coaches that have won a Super Bowl. My point is, we can't get that attached to the appearance with Nick Sirianni. We just can't. We have to look at the reality and say, does this pass the smell test? Does this pass the eye test? And for me, it doesn't. Regardless of Kellen Moore, regardless of Vic Fangio, they're probably going to win some football games next year. But it doesn't mean that I believe in the order of their chains of commands. You know, I think that sounded cooler than it actually came out and sounded like. Whatever. The communication chains are out of whack, and I don't think you can run firmly when that's the case long term. But they have better coordinators, to your point. Yes, Kellen Moore doesn't stink. He doesn't stink. He's going to be a coordinator in this league for a while. But now let's look at our defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. He's been in the league for a while, and he brings something to the table with that. But he's not unstoppable. You could beat Vic Fangio. His style isn't so elite that every coordinator and every quarterback seem to really struggle when they go up against Vic Fangio. Kellen Moore might last 20 years, 30 years, be in the league forever, be 67 and could be an old veteran coach that's been around for a while, but that doesn't make you an unstoppable force. That's sort of like Vic Fangio. He's just at the back half of his career, you know? As I yank out my headphones, now I can't hear anything, and I'm a mess. I'm a mess. Now I'm getting angry. Getting angry. All right. Let's take our next call here. Not happy. No.
Hey, Brodes. After the AFC Championship, I was looking at these championship games a little bit, and I realized something. The results should say it clear. This NFL season for everyone fucking sucked. Maybe not for Chiefs and Niners fans, but let's face it, the quality of play was fucking terrible. And now we got two teams most people would say nobody wanted. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, awesome, but no one wants another dynasty. No one wants another Patriots, and we're getting it right in front of our face. Kellen Moore is not making me feel any better.
All right, with the ending there. I don't have a problem with this Super Bowl. I really don't. I want great teams to be playing. And the Lions were a cool story, but I don't know if they're as good as the Niners. Now, they deserve to beat San Francisco, and they shot themselves in the foot. But what I feel makes San Francisco better is the fact that they took advantage of that every time, every single time. Every time something poor happened, here are the 49ers, and that's how you make up the deficit when you were down a ton of points at half, and then bang, you really do put the gas on, and you really push down on that pedal, and Brock Purdy was making plays with his legs nonstop. You got to give them credit. The knock on Kyle Shanahan has been, if they are in the fourth quarter, and they're working down the stretch, and they are down, then they are not going to win that game. Yet here they are with the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. They have a home playoff game. They're down to the Lions big time, who came out swinging early, and they have an epic comeback after that. And now they're facing Kansas City. I think it's a great matchup. I'm extremely fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by the Brock Purdy angle, and I know I'm on an island with not hating the Niners as much as everyone else, so that's playing a role into this, but I think just from a quality of football standpoint, Andy Reid versus Kyle Shanahan, think about those two offensive minds, and think about Nick Sirianni. Think about those two offensive minds, and then think about Nick Sirianni. And those two are going toe-to-toe with the chance to win a Super Bowl. That's awesome. Think about the defense on both sides. How is Spags going to respond? What's he going to do going up against Shanahan in that film room? That defense has been electric. They've been helping carry the offense when they haven't been able to really get things going as much as we've seen them operate in years past. This is great. I love the idea of these two teams playing. Would it be better if it was Ravens, Lions? No. Different because it's a different team finally, but I love a dynasty. The world probably hates it, and guess what? We'll see all the numbers, and it'll be 75 billion people who watched. And then Usher sings. Everyone's going to see that too and have a lot of opinions, I'm sure.
Hey, Brodes. Calling you to give my reaction to the Kellen Moore hire. I'm not super thrilled with either the Kellen Moore or the Vic Fangio hires, but I can certainly say the Eagles could have done way worse. I mean, you brought in two veteran coordinators, which is no doubt what the team needed to do. They seem like very safe hires, and I'm very kind of interested to see where they move forward with this, because I think both of them have a level of power that Nick Sirianni might not. But the one thing about Kellen Moore that does concern me, and I am acknowledging that this is no way his fault, but every time we bring in a former Cowboy, it never seems to go well. Flashback to DeMarco Murray.
So that's not the first time I heard that, and it's fair, right? Now, if you think someone's great, if you're Jeffrey Lurie, I don't think the smell of the Cowboys logo should be a factor. If you truly think he has the answers, if you truly think that he could scheme something up outstanding, where I thought you were going to go before you said that it's out of his control was potentially the run game. And we'll see what the run game is like. Remember, Jeff Stoutland is the run game coordinator. Jeff Stoutland's the man. You talk about power with this organization. Jeff Stoutland has a ton. Dude is unbelievable. So how much is that going to influence things? And where Jalen Hurts is just from a physical standpoint Is he ready to take that step again with the 3 dimensions to the offense? Is this strictly going to be, let's have him under center a little more? We know things were leaning towards the direction of not enough. Let's get that more active. Let's see if we can adapt. And that's all great. But is he going to be throwing bombs nonstop and that be more of the focus? Or can we get heavy with forcing defenses to be aware that he could take off at any time? And part of me wonders if it's more just that's where Jalen Hurts is at in his career at 25. His body is banged up, and he's having a difficult time trying to sustain that. And if that's the case, that literally docks him down a bunch of points because that's what made him scary. Now, I'm not hitting the full panic button yet. I wonder if some things happened to his knee and some things was happening to his leg in the season that we weren't really aware about, and then that limited what he was capable of doing, and that's why maybe the offense didn't have that element. I don't know. I just hope that it's incorporated more because that's what suits this offense best with Jalen Hurts at the helm. One thing that really got me a little annoyed was someone brought up the fact that we are looking for the, quote, right coaching for Jalen Hurts. And that set off alarms because when this individual or these group of fans heard that, it goes, well, why do we need our quarterback to have the right coaching? He's either the guy or not. And my pushback for that's very simple. Jalen Hurts is 25 years old. Do we now live in a world where we expect a quarterback to step in and at age 25 need zero help? Because if that's now the bar, then I don't know many quarterbacks that can live up to that. You don't need anything. You're just golden, right? You know everything. Todd Bowles, who's been in the league forever, he's a nobody, and you have all the answers to his defense. I'm just saying, when he was first in the league, or first kind of getting started in the league, they had the 9-8 season. They went on the road in the playoffs, and he was struggling big time. Now at that point, he was 23 years old or so, and he was very new at that, and it was a new spot for Jalen, and we were very excited about what he could blossom into. But obviously, he won't have those answers. And 2 years later, I know it was a step back from last year, and the offense in totality didn't know what was happening with some of the blitzes, and Kellen Moore does have a history of being able to have the fix to that with Dallas, that 2022 year, I believe it was. And yeah, that's awesome. That's something that we're really hoping Kellen Moore can change. But for me, at 25 years old, asking for the right coaching for your quarterback, that doesn't make me uncomfortable. I'm okay with that. Why would that hurt me? Emotionally speaking. That doesn't mean now I question Jalen Hurts. There may be other reasons why I question Jalen. I'm more nervous about the physical side of it than anything else. But guess what? People were writing off Lamar Jackson too, and then he walks his way to an AFC Championship game. Disappointing AFC Championship game. And I'm not one of those, now all of a sudden Lamar Jackson can't play quarterback. I think on the biggest stage, though, it looked ugly. It was horrible. But if I'm starting a franchise and Lamar Jackson is my quarterback, I'm better than probably every single team except for 4, except for maybe 5. That's a pretty good spot to be in. I actually like Lamar Jackson a lot for whatever it's worth. That means anything to you.
Brodes, this is about the Eagles. We're going to suck next year.
Oh, jeez.
Kellen Moore is no. Oh, my goodness, no. I fucking can't do this. I'm going to cry. I really am. He sucks.
Okay.
He couldn't do anything with Prescott or Herbert.
That's not true. He did do some really strong things with Dak Prescott. He really did. The Herbert thing, people are pointing out the injury side of it, not having certain players, and obviously that's going to make numbers look differently. And it wasn't good what happened. And their head coach and Staley, was he surrounded by the right guy? Was he surrounded by the right organization and all that? I'm not going to buy into the L.A. part of it. I think he had just as much of a role into what they were as anything else. But you can't say he didn't do a damn thing with Dak Prescott. That's unfair.
Hey, Brodes. I know you've been lukewarm, so to say, about this Kellen Moore hiring. Honestly, I think you should be a lot more excited about it. I mean, his 2022 offense when he was with the Cowboys, they were first encountering the blitz, which is obviously a huge issue we had this year.
Yeah.
He also successfully schemed open Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Dalton Schultz when they were all on the same team at the same time. He also had the 6th most rushing attempts and the 7th most rushing yards in the NFL during his years with the Cowboys. So I think the rushing concerns that have surrounded him are a little overblown.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't agree with that. You know what his bread and butter is. You know what he wants to do. He wants to air that baby out. I'm not buying that he's someone who's willing to run. We are going to complain next year. We will absolutely 1,000% get into his face and start screaming. You have to run the ball. That will happen 1,000%. And also remember, though, I bet you he was influenced by Jerry Jones. We have Zeke. We have this big name. We paid him a lot of money. That's our guy. He's one of the faces of this franchise. Him, Dak Prescott, that was the era he lived in. Jerry Jones has a massive, massive amount of voice, okay? And I wouldn't be shocked if there were times where Kellen Moore had to incorporate Zeke more than he maybe wanted to do. I'm not buying that he's going to be a run guy. I'm just not buying it. He probably isn't going to be a run guy. He isn't. And right now, we have no idea what these backs are like. Does anybody have a thought on what the back situation is? I bet you we see a lot of Gainwell. Gainwell. All right, I'll close out on this because the last call, there was some good points in the beginning part on what he can do to help create separation with some of these wide receivers. He's going to be Dak Prescott of your coordinator position. You could do a lot worse than Dak Prescott as your quarterback. I know that's sort of an odd take from an Eagles fan right now looking at it, but reality is, whether that tells you that there's not a lot of great quarterbacks, I disagree. You know, he's nowhere close to the Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes, where I think Lamar Jackson is Josh Allen, that level of quarterback. But Brock Purdy and Jared Goff was just playing in the NFC Championship game, and Jalen Hurts, while I think his ceiling is fantastic, he didn't live up to the expectations last season. So Dak Prescott being underneath some of the names I just mentioned, you could do a lot worse than that. And there's plenty of games where he will light you up and put up 400 plus yards and have 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. I mean, he does do that. There'll be games where we are so pumped up and so enamored by what Kellen Moore does from play calling and from also just the scheme too, the flow, the rhythm. It's going to be completely night and day from the choppy crap that we were watching under Brian Johnson and Sirianni. So absolutely 1,000%. I'm aware of that for sure. I'm more just on the side of, well, why? Why hasn't it been put together yet? Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it does sound the alarms a little that it hasn't yet. He's young, his age, I know, I'm aware. Andy Reid took him X amount of years to win the Super Bowl, and he's one of the greatest to ever do it. I know. But it doesn't mean that all of a sudden I feel better right now because of what I just laid out there. No, I still want to know why. Why hasn't he caught on as that new, fresh, insane toy, and now he's more of a retread than he is that new special piece? What happened? How did we get there with Kellen Moore? Know what I'm saying? All right, everybody, that's where we're going to wrap things up today. I greatly appreciate it. If I did not utilize your phone call, then be on the lookout because it absolutely is in the cards for a future show as we continue day by day to really grind out this Eagle squad and share our thoughts. So, all right, everybody, I love you all to death. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all on the next one.